Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Great afternoon. Great afternoon, because I tell you, this is really a thrilling day, and it's a thrilling moment because at a time when I know that a lot of folks and a lot of Marylanders are feeling uncertain and are just questioning where things are going and who we're fighting for as a society. At a time when I know a lot of folks are feeling like there's a swirling darkness that we have to contend with, this day epitomizes light. This group and this room epitomizes light because this is the day that we in our state are taking another big step forward in our work to end child poverty in the state of Maryland. And the beautiful thing about this room is this is a room of folks who have been with us every step of the journey. Through the easies, through the tough, through the challenging, through the questioning. That you all have been the ones who have been there every step of the way. And frankly, for many of y'all, even before there was a Moore-Miller administration. Which is great because, when you think about the folks in this room, whether you're coming from philanthropy or the private sector or government or our community, the thing that we knew is that if we were going to be serious about this work, it meant we got to do it together. It meant that we needed every single sector and every single person who was going to be devoted and focused in making sure that we could actually get this work done. And we came with a simple question. What could it look like if we could actually provide the resources to our community? And what could it look like if the solutions were not solutions that we were telling the community were the solutions, but solutions that were coming from the community? And if that could be the focus in the way that we're going about our business. So I remember that we literally, during the Moore-Miller, when it was just a campaign, we were campaigning on this idea of saying we were going to address poverty and we were going to end child poverty. And people were like, don't say that. It doesn't poll well. And that probably might have been true. But I remember I said it doesn't matter because if we're not going to do it, then why are we doing this? Right? And that during my inaugural address, we talked about how Maryland was going to be the first state in the nation to launch a full frontal and a bipartisan attack on child poverty. And within the first 6 months of this administration, we expanded the child tax credit. We raised the minimum wage to make sure we were lifting more families out of poverty because no one should be working 40 and 60 hours a week and still be living in poverty. And 1 year ago, together, we crafted and passed the Enough Act, the most ambitious, state-run, place-based poverty-fighting effort that this country has seen. And just last month, we announced our first cohort of Enough Act grantees who will develop and implement their own plans to fight poverty in their own communities. So, the entire country is watching Maryland, y'all. The entire country is watching the work that's happening right here because this is a big bet. This is a big idea. But it's one that I know we're going to win because we got the right team. Every step of the way, we have focused on not just moving fast, but moving together. Because if you can move fast and together, then you have everything that you need in order to be successful. We've partnered with the public sector and with the private sector and with philanthropy. We've partnered with some of the best leaders in the state and in the country to be able to help to address the things that need addressing. We have worked with educators. We have worked with public servants, elected officials and non-elected officials, but all who have devoted their lives, their every being, to make sure that we could end this scourge of poverty. We're thankful that we've had such amazing partners in the work. We're thankful for people like Special Secretary Carmel Martin for the work that she's continuing to do. Thank you. We're thankful for people like the architect of this work, Mr. Jeffrey Canada and his amazing team at the Harlem Children's Home. We're thankful for folks who have been visionaries and believers in this work from Jump Street, folks like Jim Shelton and Cecilia Gutierrez from Blue Meridian Partners. We're thankful for the fact that this has not just been a governmental effort from the second floor and from the governor's office, but also it's been on the first floor and the legislature. And this work would not have gotten done had it not been for partners in the work like Senate President Bill Ferguson and Speaker Adrian Jones and Chairs Barnes and Chairs Gazzoni and Chair Wilkins and Delegate Spiegel and Delegate Solomon and Delegate Harris and Delegate McCaskill, people who did not just cast yes votes, but make sure their colleagues did too. And that's why today's two exciting announcements are so exciting, and this is the right team to be here because all of you have been there from Jump Street. Because first, we are proud to celebrate the official launch of the Enough Alliance. Now, the Enough Alliance, after last year the General Assembly passed the Enough Act, we wanted to be very clear that the Enough Act this is not just a piece of legislation. This is a movement. It's not just a piece of legislation, it's the way that our administration does its business from here on out. And that meant having all the right partners at the table to make sure that that could actually happen. So the General Assembly believed that our state could and should end child poverty, and this was the time to make it happen. And in the bipartisan balanced budget that we passed, the legislature allocated $20 million towards this work. But we also knew that government alone could not make this happen. Government could be a catalyst, government could be a convener, government alone was not going to be the completer. That government had to make sure that we had others involved inside this work. And this is why we have come together to build a team that's big enough to take on this challenge, because the Enough Alliance is an independent coalition of both philanthropy and private sector organizations. That these groups are coming together to invest their own capital and their own private dollars to end child poverty and to advance economic mobility in our state. And this alliance has already inspired investments of over $100 million towards fighting poverty and expanding opportunity here in the state of Maryland. Y'all, let's be clear, that's crazy. $100 million. I mean, think about it seriously. $100 million, $20 million invested by the legislature, $100 million invested now by the private sector and philanthropy. I shouldn't say X, because people say don't say X because it sounds too like Wall Street. A 5 times return. A 5 times return in less than a year. Tell me what you're gonna get a 5 times return on right now. Like, y'all are seriously like, I don't know, like the Google of philanthropy. This is amazing. It's extraordinary. And not only is it a 5 times return on that initial investment that the General Assembly put forward, it's now more than halfway to the larger goal of $200 million in less than a year. This is amazing what has happened. And it's amazing what's happening right now in the state of Maryland. And also, as part of this new alliance, we have our friends like Blue Meridian Partners, who have made massive anchor commitments to making this work happen. As of today, Blue Meridian Partners have officially committed over $50 million to fight poverty in Maryland. This is an absolute game changer for not just the state of Maryland, it's a game changer for Marylanders. It's a game changer for our people. It's a game changer for our communities and our community partners. And the amazing thing about this kind of commitment that Blue Meridian has made and so many other partners is that they didn't have to do this. You could put your capital a whole lot of places, in a whole lot of different areas, in a whole lot of different geographies. But you chose poverty, child poverty, concentrated poverty, generational poverty, urban, rural, and suburban poverty in the state of Maryland. And I want to say thank you for seeing us in the way that you have, because this is going to support community schools all across our state. This is going to support existing programs that are already doing really good work and just simply needed a little more shine and a little more capital to keep on doing really good work. This is going to support the communities who don't need to be saved. They just need us to move the barriers from in front of them because they can save themselves. And so we are so thankful to have this Blue Meridian team who have served as not just anchors, but lighthouses to this work. We're also really grateful to have representatives from the amazing nonprofits that are going to receive this funding and do their work inside of our communities, to include Code for America, Communities in Schools, Code Path, Jobs for the Future, Social Finance, Saga Education, and Government Performance Lab. Can we please give each and every one of them a big round of applause? You could be anywhere. You could choose to invest anywhere. And you chose in hometown. And we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts, and I know I speak on behalf of 6.5 million people when I say that. Now today, we are also excited to celebrate the launch of the Enough Community Support Fund. This new fund is an independent, mission-driven way to collect resources and support from philanthropies. And the fund is going to channel that money towards communities with the highest concentrations of poverty. Now, one of the things we found really interesting when we looked at this is because folks have learned we are a data-driven organization. Data-driven and heart-led. We wear our hearts on our sleeves, and we acknowledge that, but we do not move without data. Show me data. And the really heartbreaking thing is when you look at child poverty in the state of Maryland, here's the problem. It's everywhere. It's in urban areas, it's in rural areas, it's in suburban areas. That if you look at the heat map of where child poverty exists in 2025, it looks no different than what it looked like in 2015 or 2005. The only difference is the red areas are more red. So we knew there had to be a way of being able to support all of our neighborhoods and all of our communities, no matter the family lineage of our children, from the Western Mountains to the Eastern Shore to everywhere in between. And we said this was not just about more capital. This initiative is not just about throwing more money around. We've got to be strategic, pinpoint, truly making sure that the investments are getting the kind of returns that we are hoping for, the societal investments that we're aiming for. And government and our partners in the public and private sectors can help to provide the support, but it's the leaders of our communities who will provide the vision. You all will be the ones to lead the way. We will just be the ones that you have all the ammunition you need. That the Enough Community Support Fund is born out of a mindset, out of the heart of the Enough Act. That the ones who are most dealing with the challenges are the ones who are most prepared to actually offer the solutions. And we're grateful to our partners who have already provided the seed capital for this fund. And in particular, I'd like to shout out a few of them. I'd like to shout out the Bainham Family Foundation and the Sherman Family Fund. Bless you guys, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And it's not lost on me at all that these investments that we celebrate today build upon the extraordinary financial contributions of others as well who have been there also from Jump Street. Folks like the Arnold Ventures, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, the Greater Washington Community Foundation, and the Richmond Foundation, and others who have worked together to help lead this fight. Can we please give them a round of applause as well? So this room is full of people who have put in the work, who have believed. In the words of Drake, we got a really big team. This team is big, this team is strong, this team is historic. And we have extraordinary partners in our General Assembly as well. Because Maryland's courageous and consistent legislative leaders have been crucial to be able to make this happen too. And none of this will be possible without the leadership that they have also shown. This partnership between our administration and the General Assembly helped to pass the Enough Act. Our partnership inspired these funders and nonprofits, but it's our communities who have truly provided the greatest level of inspiration. Our families, our kids, their educators, the people in the community who truly do believe. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the members of the Moore-Miller administration, including the many cabinet secretaries who are here today, because this is truly an all-of-government approach. And it's not about a piece of legislation. It's the way we do our work. And so I do want to close just speaking directly to Marylanders about the work that we are doing to fight poverty. And so they immediately understand the shared vision we have for the future. Because the shared vision we have for the future is one where Maryland is not suffering, where 1 in 8 of our children are living in poverty. The shared vision we have for our future is one where we do not have 1 in 3 of our children who are suffering from food insecurity. The vision we have for the future is one where our children's destiny is not being determined for them before they even have a say for themselves. The vision we have for our future is that across political ideologies, across geographies, we're going to show people what it means to leave no one behind. And we're going to show people that this work is hard. And it's possible. And guess what? It's happening right here in Maryland. And I'm thankful that we have, as a partner in this work, someone who I am proud to call a mentor and friend. Ever since I was literally just entering into my teenage years, someone who, when my mom called and asked if he would take a phone call from a kid who was having a lot of troubles and a lot of difficulties, and I say he probably gets about 10,000 of those phone calls from black mothers every single year. But he was kind enough to tell my mom I'd love to talk to him. That's how I first met Jeff Canada. And ever since then, he's been one of the most important, not just friends, but guides inside of my life. And so I'm grateful to now turn the microphone over to somebody who has not only been incredibly important to me, but frankly, who has shown us that this work is actually possible because he's been doing it for decades. Our friend inside this work, and the founder of the Harlem Children's Zone, Jeff Canada.
I know the governor tells that story because he just wants to see me cry again. It's like, I wonder how many times I can get tears in that guy's eyes. But it's true because when you live long enough to see young people who didn't have a chance become all that God wanted them to be, and you feel like you had some small role in that, it just overwhelms you with, yes, thank you for that opportunity to try to be helpful. Governor Moore, I don't really have anything to say to Governor. I just like saying that, right? Governor Moore. I was trained by a woman who I dearly respect, Marion Wright Edelman. And the reason I respect Marion is because she was fearless. She didn't care who you were. She didn't care whether you were a president or a senator or a billionaire. If you went against America's children, you had an enemy with this woman. And I used to tell Marion, no, we can't, no, come on, Marion, not him. That's not the one you were. She did not care. And, you know, I've led a bunch of things, but I don't follow many people. I follow Governor Moore's leadership because he's unafraid. There's a reason poverty doesn't poll well. You're as old as me, you remember the war on poverty, where we put billions. And you know what they said? Didn't work, didn't make any difference, don't do it again. I was there for the HARU Act, said that didn't work. Empowerment Zone, they said that didn't work. People finally said there's nothing you can do for them, right? So let's not talk about them, tell me what you can do for us and the other folk. To really tackle poverty for real, you've got to be unafraid, and you've got to be prepared to fight for these children and families. And there are not many people who will do that. And when I heard the governor, when he stood up, I said, don't say that, Wes, please don't say that, because then we got to do it, right? And that's why we're here. Once he said it, I know we have to do it. And here's the challenge. Everybody's trying to figure out how to do this alone. They keep trying to figure, can we do it in the schools? Can I do it in child welfare? Can I do it? None of us can do it alone. And if folks believe, if folks believe that today is about us as individuals continuing to do what we have been doing, instead of thinking as a collective how we are going to work together in a different way, then we're going to miss this opportunity. This is a huge opportunity. I'm going to tell you, I said this to the governor, I've been there once when we made a little history. This is a bigger deal than that. No one's ever done it before. No one. And at this particular time in our country, when everyone is wondering what government means, what it means to be an American, who's going to benefit and who's going to lose, this is a moment when we can demonstrate to this country what it really means to serve the people. Not some people, not folks in inner city, or not folks in the suburbs, or not folks in rural, but all the people equally with the same compassion and the same belief that all of these young people and their families deserve a helping hand and a way that allows them to take the next step on their own. That's all folks need. They just need someone to say, just get me through this and then I'm good. That's our job. You know, I created a small army. I called for it. I said I don't want to use war terms, but to me, I learned from Marion, this is a fight, and children don't need weak advocates. If you can't stomach the fight, this is not the room to be in. And if anyone thinks, well, folks say this work is not rocket science. It's harder than that. No, I'm being serious. You can see them. They're shooting those rockets up every day. Show me another place in this country where they have gone out and actually ended generational poverty. And it's never happened before. This is harder than rocket science. Let me tell you the other thing. You all watched that rocket blow up? Just last week, the rocket, when it blew up, do you think anybody said, oh, because of that failure, we're quitting? We're not going to Mars? Did anyone say that? One failure, you know what they said? We're going to learn from that so it doesn't happen again because we're going there. We're going to have some stumbles. There may even be something that looks like a big explosion in front of everybody, and everybody, I'm getting out of here because that thing. The real secret to this work is, are we going to find the errors and correct them and keep moving forward with the same determination? I will bet there was not one moment of doubt that they were going to stop their work because of what happened. And when it happens to us, I wonder if you're going to be able to stand up and say, I have no doubts we can do this. This is history. America really needs a win. I mean, a real win that you can point to and celebrate and say, we want to do that in our state also. And they need that win now. And that's why we're all here. So I'm excited. Maybe you can't tell. I'm excited about this opportunity. And there's another person in this room who's a leader I will follow. And it's the newly minted CEO of Blue Meridian Partners, Jim Shelton. So we're going to bring Jim Shelton to the stage right now.
There are so many things I am grateful for today. Coming up here behind Governor Westmore and Jeff Kennedy is not one of them. I am being honest, though. I'm extraordinarily grateful. Mr. Governor, you thanked us. There is no better day in the life of a philanthropist than when your mission, and our mission as Blue Meridian, is to improve economic and social mobility and change the life trajectories of people who are trapped in poverty. There is no better day in the life of a philanthropist than when all you have to do is show up, not ask for something, but see something, see a vision that someone holds that is exactly where you want to go. The commitment to be there that was shown by you, that was shown by the legislature, that was shown by your staff, that was shown by all the parties involved, and say if we add resources to that mission, whether it works or it doesn't, it was worth it because it was right on target. I thank you for that opportunity to be here today. I thank you for the opportunity to be here alongside you in this work. And I want to thank everyone else in this room. I have the distinct opportunity, as a philanthropist, it's a very privileged job. The biggest privilege is that you get to find people who you think are exceptional and back their play. And we have in our portfolio organizations that we think and we have data to prove it, changing people's lives. And the question was, if you showed up in Maryland, which the governor invited us to do, in a different way, is there something the state could do to not only allow those people to do the great work that they do, but increase the likelihood of their success, increase the likelihood that they would impact people's lives, change the pace at which the work could get done, and that it would actually get to scale? How do you turn down an opportunity like that? But the opportunity had to be taken up by the folks who have to do the work, the folks who are working on integrating benefits, the folks who are working on putting services in schools, the folks who are trying to build the ecosystem to make employment work for everyone. Those folks had to take up the mantle and say, we are willing to jump in. All eyes are going to be on us. It could blow up, but we're going to do it anyway. So for every leader of every organization that has stepped up, I say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for putting your work on the line. Thank you for the extra work it took to figure out how to get here. And I thank you for the ups and downs you're going to suffer in trying to get it done. I want to thank the folks who are on the agency side of the government. Philanthropy is nice. Like, getting that matching resources, getting that multiplier effect, getting that return, fantastic. The people who touch the people, where the vast majority of taxpayer resources go, that's in the public sector. The people who lead that work, who head those agencies, who are clearing the way, this work doesn't happen without your leadership. So I thank you. And then because mostly I get to stay home, I have to thank the team from Blue Meridian. I mean, Cecilia and Sarah and Jacqueline and more people than I can name. Spencer is here as well. Incredible. But the governor called it right. The blueprint for this work happened behind the vision of the William Judith Winston, William Julius Wilson Institute, Jeff Canada, and the man who always sits behind him, Christian Rhodes. This is his home. And so I know what this moment means to him, because we were standing in D.C., I would not have the same straight face. There are so many people behind the scenes and in front of the scenes that deserve thanks. I appreciate you showing up, but know that the real thanks is coming for what you're about to do. With that, I'm going to turn to one of those folks, Maria Flynn, head of JFF.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And so I'm thrilled to be here today, and I am just so humbled to follow these three amazing leaders, Governor Moore, Jeffrey Canada, Jim Shelton. They are leaders who are both visionaries and they make things happen. And so I know that that is what we are all about here today, both casting a vision and really digging into how we are going to make this work for the communities and the families and the children of Maryland. So for JFF, we are thrilled to be part of this initiative. Everything that we do at JFF is about building a future that works for everyone. And so there is so much strong strategic alignment between the vision of Governor Moore and your team and the Enough Initiative and the Enough Alliance and that core mission of Jobs for the Future. And it's such an exciting time for the state, as we're hearing this afternoon, and it's being catalyzed by bold leadership and big thinking and big swings. And I think in this time, that's what we need more of around the country. Bold action, big thinking, big swings, and putting money behind those ideas. And so we are thrilled to be a small player in this bigger play. So together, we are working to advance economic mobility, to expand access to quality jobs, and to ensure that every family in Maryland has the chance to thrive through meaningful workforce pathways. And this isn't just a commitment to workforce development. It's really about creating a system, and a system that's going to sustain itself well beyond this initial investment that's being made. The state of Maryland has already set a standard for what an inclusive and diverse and resilient workforce can look like. And this work that we're all here gathered today to talk about and to launch is just going to take that to the next level. At JFF, we're guided by a big, bold North Star, which is that by the year 2033, we want to see 75 million U.S. workers who face systemic barriers to advancement working in quality jobs. And so we are thrilled to be working with the governor and your team to really put some numbers and some efforts behind that big, bold goal. And so at JFF, we're going to be working with the state and the communities here to drive growth in critical sectors like healthcare and IT and emerging industries. And I'll just list a couple of the commitments that we're making for over the next 3 years. One is to create at least 500 new apprenticeships that are going to help Maryland residents move into jobs for the future. We're going to expand or create up to 8 new registered apprenticeship programs that are uniquely tailored to the needs of Maryland businesses and residents. And we're going to partner with up to 50 employers to implement skills-based hiring practices. So as many of you know, Maryland was the first state to remove degree requirements from state jobs, and so we're excited to move that out and expand that into the private sector across the state. And this will be a very tangible way to open up opportunity for workers who have been historically excluded from too many of these opportunities. But it's also more than just numbers. Again, it's about creating sustainable pathways for residents, for building economic mobility, and to really build a workforce in Maryland that represents the diverse talents and the potential of its residents. We're also excited about the bold goal of that by 2030, 45% of Maryland's high school graduates will graduate high school with an industry-recognized credential. So So it's something that I hope more states will follow, and at JFF, we're excited to be helping by establishing a baseline to track against and also to create, again, a sustainability plan behind this work. So, I also just want to call out, I love the fact that so many of our national partners are being brought together. It's something that doesn't happen enough, so to be able to kind of bring our collective and unique strengths to play in such a wonderful state really, really thrills me. So thank you to our partners. Thank you to Blue Meridian for your investment and your leadership, and I know that together we're going to make a meaningful impact. So I'm looking forward to the work ahead. And I am going to hand this over to Josh Michael from Sherman Family Foundation.
Good afternoon. I am delighted to announce the Sherman Family Foundation's support of the Enough Alliance today. Thank you, Governor Moore. It is truly our privilege at the Foundation to partner with you, your team, and this collective that you have built, saying enough to childhood poverty in Maryland. Thank you. Mrs. Sherman and the Sherman family believe deeply in all of our children and their families' greatest hopes and dreams. That's why for 30 years, they have generously supported family-focused organizations in Baltimore and Maryland. We must invest in our children's future from birth. By their nature, Betsy and George Sherman have always rolled up their sleeves, lending their time and expertise to accelerate at the community organizations that they support. And in that spirit, I serve as the board chair of Cherry Hill Strong, a Track 3 Enough Act community quarterback. And I have the privilege of serving as the president of the State Board of Education here in Maryland. To put it simply, Betsy says we are all in on improving the lives of all children in Maryland. Let me tell you a quick story about the Shermans and how they got really focused on place-based work 15 years ago. In a series of conversations with their dear friends, Jackie and Freeman Rabowski, they started with a simple question: how can we have more impact? And consistent with the Rabowskis' focus and their familiar refrain, the answer was focus, focus, focus. And so they focused on one community in South Baltimore and one school, Lakeland Elementary Middle School. Together, they established the UMBC Lakeland Partnership, a place-based effort still thriving today that posed the simple question: how might UMBC and a Baltimore City school partner so that one day students who live in poverty could consistently choose to attend and succeed at a university like UMBC? And through deep partnership and a focus on the long game, Lakeland, a South Baltimore school with the highest rates of childhood poverty in Maryland, became the fastest improving school in reading and math in Maryland over the 5 years running up to the pandemic, rising from the 10th percentile in the state to the 50th. And yes, Lakeland students are now attending UMBC. So when community leaders in Cherry Hill, like Mr. Michael Middleton and Ms. Cleota Walker, stood with civic leaders like Senate President Bill Ferguson, Alicia Wilson, and Jan Rivets, envisioning a purpose-built community in Cherry Hill, we were ready to join hands. Little did we know that Maryland's governor would soon join us as an all-of-government approach to ending childhood poverty in Cherry Hill in South Baltimore. Despite decades of structural racism, poverty by design, Cherry Hill residents have had a vision and a plan for decades. With resources and a place-based strategy, systemic change is underway. And so today, when we support families and children, whether it's at UMBC, Cherry Hill Strong, the Family Tree, the Center for Urban Families, we support and leverage three key strategies. Number one, get close and stay close to community. Number two, invest in great leaders. Number 3, partner, especially with the government sector, to innovate and scale impact. For us, joining the Enough Alliance has been a simple choice. Where else in America is a governor focused on improving the lives of children and families? That's why we are pleased to announce today our $1 million commitment to the Enough Community Support Fund that is on top of an initial commitment of $10 million of aligned funding for the Enough Alliance. Thank you, Governor Moore, for your leadership. This is truly an all-of-government approach. The Sherman Family Foundation is all in on the Enough Alliance. I'm now pleased to turn it over to one of the most important people in the room, the people leading this work on the ground. Please welcome Yolanda Jiggets from Park Heights Renaissance.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? You guys feel that energy in the air? So my name is Yolanda Jiggets. I'm the CEO of Park Heights Renaissance, and I'm proud to be here today representing the Park Heights community as the CEO of Park Heights Renaissance. But I'm also a native born of Park Heights, and that's what I'm really excited about. And I can acknowledge, and I think I'm just getting to the point where I'm accepting that lived experience, what I read in that application, you know, we don't think about that every day in the work, but we feel it, but we don't verbalize it in the way you did, Governor Moore. But I know that those lived experiences are the key factors that fuel me and keep me coming back every day to this commitment to strengthening our community brick by brick and ensuring that every child and every family has the resources needed to thrive. And I want to really thank you, Governor Moore, for that piece. And you've touched me repeatedly as you've talked about this. It's like you answered the call of so many organizations, and I want to speak on their behalf too across the city. This work is incredibly difficult, and it shouldn't be. And so I'm saying we because I talk to others all the time. We are collaborating with nonprofits across the city, trying to share best practice, trying to figure out how do we get funders to think about how to fund us in a more holistic way. And you are setting the course, and I'm almost overwhelmed with emotion for you even recognizing that and standing up and saying that we in the community know best. We live there. The residents live there. They know what's best for their community, and it's been something in my leadership that since I've started in 2020 that has been the most challenging, is getting people to recognize that the community should be telling you what they want, and you should be supporting what they So, on a lighter note, I want to tell you a little bit about the Park Heights community. We are, a reason for the challenge that's even greater, we are the largest urban renewal area in the state of Maryland. We have over 22,000 residents and 1,500 acres of land and 12 very distinct neighborhoods within the Park Heights community. And our organization has been focused on implementing core priorities identified from the community and through our 2006 master plan. You heard what I said. That's been a long time coming. You know, and those, like many other areas, we're focused on creating diverse housing opportunities, improving educational outcomes and employment training, supporting healthy and economically secure families, and ensuring safe and thriving neighborhoods and business districts. And we're excited that this money came like at the perfect time. We just were named the 9th Main Street in Baltimore. Our businesses are excited to have this support as well. So together with our community leaders, community partners, our faith leaders, and private investors, I'm proud to celebrate our collective impact over the last 5 years, pre-pandemic and through and post-pandemic. That was my welcome gift as my leadership to Parkhead. 2 months later, a national pandemic. But we are proud to celebrate these accomplishments, but we do know that there is much more to do. That is why I am filled with gratitude today. Governor Moore, a huge thank you to you and your administration for believing in my leadership vision and our organization as one of the trusted implementation partners in this work of ending childhood poverty and creating economically sound communities across the state of Maryland. And over the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years, we have done a general assessment, and we know that just to accelerate the basic economic development priorities, we're well over $100 million. So this $20 million commitment over the next few years is huge for us. And as huge as it is, this funding accelerates the work, but it's not the finish line. PHR will continue its focus on every avenue we can to bring resources into the community, to put us into that winning position, and you're setting us up for success. It's given us time to breathe and actually begin to execute the work instead of chasing the money. So I want to thank. So I want to thank all of the philanthropic partners that are here. We need your support, and thank you for coming together around Governor Moore's call to action. And thank you to those who are making commitments to bring additional expertise and resources to this initiative. I'm raising my hand saying thank you. And also want to acknowledge Governor Moore's intentional thought. I have applied and been successful in gaining many grants over my career. I've never had technical support the way we had it in this grant. It is a big deal, and it's something that you should talk about more. It was, one, shocking. People are like, ooh, okay. And I hope, yeah, all right. We got a call saying, would you like technical assistance? I'm like, yes. What does that look like? But yes. So I hope, today's press event, and as we talk more about this and we grow these partnerships, I'm putting out a call to action for others to join this initiative. We know that this is a great start, but the work that it takes to restore and reverse disinvestment, that price tag is, we can't even calculate it at this point, but we all know the need, the great need to bring these partners together. We not only want to, in Park Heights, I'm a big visionary, right? So this grant actually confirmed my leadership vision, because I've been told my vision is too big at times. So we not only, want to address the symptoms of poverty and put Band-Aids on it, we want to identify and tackle it at its root. I'm so excited about the data support, because when we saw that heat map too, even though we know the circumstances, seeing that data in that heat map was shocking, even more than I thought. And so we want to break those cycles of generational disinvestment. Standing here making our small contribution in Park Heights, and we hope that that multiplies across the city. We're excited to be partners in Baltimore with Cherry Hill Strong as another player in this work. And Park Heights Renaissance is in position now to be an even more effective partner in the enough theory of action because of our strong belief in collaboration over competition as the driver to collective impact through capacity and partnership building and empowering local organizations to work together towards long-term sustainable change in their communities. So when I read that grant, I knew we were winning because we adopted this already before the grant. And I've had people over the years as we were manifesting this vision of how we could work and bring partners together to collectively do the work that laughed. That said, never will happen. Developers will never work together in that way. Community-based partners will never come together in that way. So when I read that grant, I cried, I'll tell you the truth, the first time. It was like my words jumped out on that page. So again, I want to just say publicly, we are committed to ensuring Park Heights serves as a model for equitable redevelopment, one where residents are active participants in shaping their future. Together with the support of our residents, community partners, local information is possible. We see the results happening in Park Heights. One family, one partnership, and one investment at a time. And through these partnerships, we know Park Heights will soon be recognized as that national model of effective community, public, and private partnerships to drive impactful outcomes in community development and reverse that generational poverty that we all have accepted as a standard in some cases. And so I want to thank you again, Governor Moore, and we look forward to the work ahead. We look forward to working with everyone that's in this room. I've already met so many great partners and trying to keep it all and connected in my head, but again, kudos to your vision for having the tenacity to really stick to we are going to do this together and taking the steps to bring the right people together to really move the needle on this. So with that said, I want to introduce again back to the stage Governor Westmore.
Now I'll open up to any questions that folks might have. Yeah.
So, Governor Moore, you mentioned the minimum wage earlier. There's a proposal in the legislature now to gradually increase the minimum wage over a 5-year period to $20 an hour and to end the sub-minimum wage for tipped workers. It seems like that would align with what you've announced here. Is that something that you are putting your support behind?
Yeah, we're eager to work with the General Assembly to ensure that we can continue having a wage structure that actually honors work, and that people are getting fair wages for the work that they are doing. People might remember in the initial proposal that we laid out last year, we actually talked about not just an increase to a minimum wage, but also making sure that we had indexing as well, because people should not be punished because you have inflation. That also plays into it as well. So we're eager to work with the General Assembly to ensure that we can get fair wages for good and important work.
Governor, you recently mentioned in an interview that the Enough Act aims to sustainably address generational and concentrated childhood poverty. So can you elaborate on how the funding provided will directly contribute to long-term sustainability in the communities impacted by poverty?
One of the really exciting things about the Enough Act is there is not a one-size-fits-all, because communities aren't built that way. If you're talking to, if you're speaking to Hagerstown, who will say, maybe the biggest issues that they are dealing with are opioid addiction and a loss of jobs from industry pullout. And then you talk to Park Heights, and they'll say, well, the biggest issues we might be dealing with might happen to be gun violence or the issues of a lack of mobility, physical mobility. And so the answer is that we want to be able to meet communities where they are. That's why it's not us creating the proposals and then bringing it to the community. It's the community saying, these are our issues for our communities and for our citizens. And then us just simply saying, okay, then how can we pull together the resources that are necessary? How do we pull together the best practice organizations that are doing the work and making sure they're connected inside of those communities? And so one of the beautiful things I think about the Enough Act is the answer to what type of supports that the communities are receiving. The answer is it depends on the community. But that's not coming from us. That answer is really coming from them.
I have a two-parter for you. One, this $100 million from various organizations, including the new $50 million from Blue Meridian Partners, over what time period is that commitment? And related, the new Community Support Fund, who controls that and decides where the money goes?
So first on the for the financing and who's going, the Governor's Office of Children is actually playing lead on that. And so the Governor's Office of Children, being led brilliantly by Carmel Martin, is really working to identify which organizations that we are working with and which organizations in which communities that we're working with. And Carmel, I don't know if you want to add anything onto that as well.
Same process that the first cohort of grantees, similar process to that.
Okay, yes. So there of the 27 communities that were selected in the first round, there were 3 communities that essentially were the top tier communities. Those are the ones that we felt were most prepared and most ready at this moment to be able to move forward with the highest level of financial support. But there's 2 other tiers that the remaining organizations and remaining communities will fall under, and these are communities that we knew had a lot of the pieces in place, will continue to receive supports, but weren't quite at the level that we saw with the 3 organizations that were selected early.
And
I'm sorry, and the
the $100 million, over what time period is that, including the new 50 from Blue Meridian Partners?
yeah, so the ultimate goal that we have is actually a $200 million fund, and that is going to be, while that capital is coming in now, we know that this is going to be a multi-year initiative, and so we have different grants coming in during different times.
If President Trump asks the state of Maryland to operationalize the National Guard for southern border deployment or the state police for ICE enforcement locally, what will you do?
I take my responsibility as Commander-in-Chief of our state's National Guard very seriously. I take my responsibility of being the leader of our state police very seriously. They have very clear missions. They have very clear objectives, and they have very clear orders from their Commander-in-Chief. I don't do speculation. I don't do what might happen, depending on what might come on down the board. But I am very clear about not just the responsibility that I take on, but about the fact that I'm going to make sure that our soldiers and our airmen and our state troopers are very clear on what their mission is, and that they are following very clear guidance about how they are protecting the people of the state of Maryland.
Thank you so much. That's all the questions we want to take today. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.